Hey guys, I've been wanting to make this video for some time. Today I want to explore the topic of how to manage your finances when things are tight. I'm talking here like really tight. Now this topic applies to so many people because you might assume that it might affect only people who are on low incomes, but I've also seen through our work with the Humble Penny that, people are struggling even though they're earning a decent income. So today I want to just unpack practically how I would approach dealing with or managing the emotional aspect of this journey, the practical aspects of almost climbing my way out of the situation to a point where I'm not just struggling. Now, I just want to reflect on the fact that whenever we're struggling financially, it can feel like that is the only place we're going to remain at. We can feel like, do you know what? I'm at this little spot here and everybody else around me seems to be doing very well, but I don't seem to be moving very much. So before I even start this video, I just want to start with some encouragement to say that, do you know what? You might just feel like you're here at the bottom and you're kind of like trying to climb your way out of your current situation. The thing I want to tell you right now is that where you're at is a temporary spot. Things will change for you over time, but it requires taking certain steps for that to happen. That's what I want to explore for today's video. Today's video is not one of those where I want you to just watch it like you're watching Netflix. I really want you to take some notes if you can, get involved. I'm going to be doing some illustrations on my little board and just sharing some practical ways that I will go about getting out of this situation. If you're loving the sound of that, please hit the like button. And whilst you're there, please make sure you hit the button right there and subscribe to the channel. For those who are new to our channel, my name is Ken Okorafor. I'm married to Mary and we run the Humble Penny and Financial Joy Academy, a platform and brand we've created to help you ultimately design a life of financial joy. We achieve financial independence at the age of 34, including mortgage free in 7 years. So that gives me a great deal of authority to talk about this topic. In addition, I'm also a Sunday Times bestselling author of our debut book. Mary and I wrote this book, Financial Joy, 10-week plan to help you banish debt, grow your money, and unlock financial freedom. I will link to it below and above if you wanted to check it out or learn more about what it's about. Okay, I'm going to dive straight in. So, I've made some notes on my phone to help me walk through the various steps. Today's video, I'm going to cover 8 different points. So do please make sure you hang around and make some notes actually and reflect on the points I'm going to share today. Feel free to pause them. They're going to be somewhat unusual in part, but I'm doing it because I really want to be absolutely real with how I would deal with this as somebody who doesn't just look at life as one dimension, or I just don't look at life as in the physical dimension. I also look at life in the spiritual dimension, and in fact, even more so. So here are the ways I would deal with that. The first thing I would do when it comes to managing my finances when things are tight is to start with gratitude. Now, gratitude is such an overlooked superpower, in fact. Oftentimes when we are struggling with our finances, we feel that a lot of times feels like we're fighting fires and we're wanting to deal with a problem at hand immediately. But one thing I've found really helpful in helping me to navigate challenging times, whether it's financially or non-financially, is to begin with what I'm actually grateful for. So the question I want to ask you is this: what are you grateful for? Even if you're struggling right now, even if you don't know how you're going to pay that next bill, even if your business is struggling and you're navigating how to meet the next tax bill or to meet payroll, even if your personal life, you're trying to figure out how to pay that mortgage or that rent, or you're just figuring out how to pay for food, there must be stuff that you are actually grateful for in your life. So I want to ask you, what is that right now? Pause this video right now if you had to reflect on it. I'll give you some examples. I'm super grateful that I've woken up this morning and I can have this dialogue, have this conversation, and you might react to it by watching the video. The fact that I can actually sit here and make this video, I'm very grateful for. I'm grateful for good health, the fact that I've woken up, I've been able to exercise this morning, I've seen my wife and children, and I've been able to do help out at home. That's something I'm really grateful for. I'm grateful for the fact that I have a roof over my head, for example, and I'm able to wake up in a place that's warm because I'm aware that not everybody's able to do that. That I'm very grateful for. You see, something really powerful happens when you begin to write down what you're grateful for, even before we started to look at the practicalities for how you actually get out of the situation related to your finances. So spend a moment, write down 2 or 3 things that you believe you're grateful for in your life, and that will start to create the right foundation for what we're going to do next when it comes to managing your finances. The second thing I would do, remember I'm doing this from my perspective, that's how I would approach this. Second thing I would do, and this will apply to everybody, and that's okay, but the second thing I would do is to pray and commit my current circumstances to God. Now, I'm a person of faith, and I believe very strongly that things that happen in and around my life aren't things that I need to worry about solely by myself. Yeah. So when I think that God's an ultimate provider in my life and in my family's life, I have a lot of comfort when I commit things to God and put God and help and effectively let God do what God does, because it's not everything that I can do. There's certain things that I can do in the physical world by taking certain practical steps, which I'll share with you today. But when God moves in a very different way. God's ways are very different to the ways that we operate. And I understand that, this is not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. But I would be completely inauthentic if I didn't share this perspective with you. So I'm really wanting to share this just to help you understand that there's so much more you can achieve in your life by committing things to God, and letting God do the work as well from that spiritual perspective. The third thing I would do, and this is where we start to get very practical, is to be clear on where things are right now and track your income and expenses. So I've done a little illustration here that I wanted to show you on this board. Okay, so first of all, I'll show the board just to show 2 main things. So what we're looking at here is a split of assets and liabilities, and I'm also looking at income and expenses. Usually when we're dealing with problems, we don't look at our finances a bit more holistically. And we're typically focusing on, how do I meet this side? How do I pay my expenses only? Yeah. When in actual fact, we should be looking at 4 different areas. How do I navigate liabilities, obviously, but how do I look at assets and what I have going on for me as to how could those assets potentially help me to pay off liabilities and potentially pay down, pay expenses. Yeah. But looking at it holistically like this helps you, first of all, see where you're at the moment. So this is your statement of financial position. Where are you at the moment? Here I'm looking at all your assets, depending on what your assets are. Here I'm looking at savings. You might own a home, you may have some stock investments, and so on. I'll give you a really practical example. Did you know that there are people right now who are struggling to meet certain things right now, but they might have some stock investments and haven't even checked those investments to see how well they're performing? Your investments might be doing so well that you might be able to sell down and take some profits from those investments to be able to pay down some liabilities and meet some really painful expenses that you might be struggling with right now. But you might not think that way because you've not looked at things holistically, as I've tried to do right here. Also, you might look at this and go, wow, I'm only earning an income from my salary, which is what most people would be doing right now. But you might potentially, and I'll come to a point later, explore alternative ways to increase what's happening here, and over time be able to earn more, to be able to pay down expenses and so on. But the point here is simple. Look at your finances holistically to understand where you're at right now, so that you can say, well, actually, I have a sense of my net worth and kind of where I am, the key details of my liabilities and assets, and how those might be able to flow into this aspect of helping me to either improve my income situation or help me to pay down some expenses over time. Okay, so that's my third point. Be clear on where things are right now. The fourth point I would focus on is to communicate. Now, this is such an important point, particularly if you're somebody who has a partner, for example. Oftentimes when people are fighting fires and when it comes to their finances, they don't really communicate. And communication takes a back seat. But communication extends beyond the partner. If you're somebody who's single, it also extends to do you need to communicate with family members? Do you need to communicate with a supplier of services? Maybe your gas and electric supplier, broadband supplier, your mortgage provider, or your landlord, or whatever. communicating when things are really tight is very, very important. It also could lead to you being able to haggle, for example, or try to negotiate better terms on some of your services that you might have already. It might even lead to you trying to get better services at a better cost by shopping around. But the key with point 4 is that communication should not be put to the side. In fact, communication should be seen as an asset as you begin to work towards a plan of trying to navigate your finances given things are really, really tight. Step 5 is that I would question your lifestyle. Yeah. So my point here is what small changes do you think you could make in and around your life, given that things are currently really tight in your life? What changes could you make? Very practically, I'll use an example, right? Have a scan through your bank statements and try to look for patterns in your habits and behaviors. Yeah. Just have a look around. Are you sporadically ordering takeaways when it suits you? Do you have too many direct debits that relate to things that you're not really using? Are you spending too much in one category or one area of your life potentially, driven by a particular lifestyle, maybe led by, keeping up, or things you subscribed even to a long time ago, but are no longer in line with the values you have for your life, for example. Really, really question the lifestyle that you're leading right now. What are the key expenses in your life? Is it home? Is it travel? Is it school fees for children? Is it food? Is it discretionary expenses or unexpected expenses? Have a scan through your bank statements, and you'd be surprised by what you might notice if you look, say, over the last 30 days to 60 days, kind of see if you spot any patterns. If you're someone who has a partner, it'd be a really good exercise to do this exercise with them, just to look through your online banking statements or your physical statements if you prefer, just to see if there are any habits and behaviors that are highlighted by that review, and if there is a change to your lifestyle that you might be able to make. Small changes in lifestyle will make a big difference when it comes to trying to get by and almost get past this phase of struggling when things feel a bit too tight with your finances. Step 6 is that I would say here, I would use cash as much as possible. So here I'm talking about using cash for almost everything that you can use cash for. I'll give you a really practical example. I'm making this video on a Monday, for example, and we went, Mary was going to go for some grocery shopping yesterday on Sunday. What we did, practicing what we preach, is we went and got some cash out from the cash machine. I got £75 out from the cash machine, and she said, I'm going shopping. I'm like, here, babe, here's £75 for the weekly shop. Then, she took it, put it into her wallet, and she went and did her shopping. That was brilliant, because then, you don't get to the shop and buy more than your money allows. You really shop more intentionally. You do a meal plan. You really follow a very clear list that you're shopping towards, and you're much more intentional on what you buy, why you buy it, and where you buy it. Yeah. So that use of cash really, really does matter, and it plays a much bigger role. And I won't go into that in today's video, but I wanted to just highlight that there are certain key expenses that if you're really struggling with your finances, you can put in place effectively a control by using cash to just make sure that you are staying on top of everything. Now, I've been cleaning my little whiteboard here because I want to just illustrate point 7, which is that you need to then, as you've done these various few things I've shared just now, you need to then start to create for yourself a cash flow plan. Now, what is a cash flow plan, and how does it differ to a budget, for example? Now, cash, income and expenses, and cash are very different things. Yeah, so cash is inflow and outflow out of your life, whereas a budget looks at income and expenses, and some of those income and expenses might not be actual income and expenses. They might be things that are expected to happen, and some of them might not have an immediate cash impact. Whereas when you do a cash flow plan, it really speaks to what on earth is going to be happening in your life in the next, say, 4 weeks, for example. So I want to just spend a moment and just show you what I mean by drawing a bit of an illustration. So hopefully you can see that, yeah. And you can do this as well if you've got a small business, for example, and things are a bit difficult at the moment, and you're trying to figure out how to navigate things. Getting a bit practical like this really does help. Let me just give you an illustration. These are weeks on top of it. So week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. Okay, I'm going to keep this really simplistic because I just want it to make sense. Yeah, let's say that your current bank balance. Yeah, let's say in your life right now, let's say it's currently, I don't know, let's say £500. That's your current. In fact, that should be. Yeah, that's fine. I'll leave that there. The current balance is £500. The whole point here is I want you to try to work towards anticipating what's coming down in week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. Basically, over the next 1 month, what do you expect to happen in your life? So you might be that you say, I'm going to pay, say, I'm going to have my salary will come in, and let's say you earn, say, 2K, right? That amount's increasing. That's now, you've now got £2,500. And let's say out of that, you pay some rent or mortgage. And let's say I'm paying rent of, say, I don't know, 900, right? Just making this up, right? And you've got some food expenses for this week. And let's say you're spending here £75 and so on. Yeah. And you get the point. Effectively, what I'm trying to do here is help you to anticipate what's coming down the line, such that you're able to say, right now I've only got £500 in my bank account, but at the end of week 1, I expect that by the time I've earned my income and had certain expenses come out, I will have a certain amount of money left over here, a certain amount left over. That amount that's left over is then carried over to begin week 2. Let's say I started week 2 with, I don't know, making this up, tallied all that up, £2,500 minus 900 minus 7. Let's say I started week 2 with a certain amount of money. Let's make it up after deducting certain expenses. Let's say it's £1,500 that I have left over. You're effectively trying to predict, or as realistically as you can, try to figure out what are your expectations for different expenses. You can do this on a notepad, you can do this on Excel or Google Sheets or whatever. But the point here is a lot of times when you're struggling with your finances, a lot of that uncertainty comes from almost not anticipating what's coming down the line, almost not planning for certain expected real life expenses are actually coming, and also leaving a buffer for other things that you might not have expected to come down the line. But when you look at this cash flow plan, say over the next 4 weeks, you're able to say, well, actually, I have assessed my current cash flow situation. I know that I'm expecting certain income to come in. I know that I'm expecting certain key expenses to go out because they go out on a direct debit every month. And then I've left certain room for the unexpected to happen. By doing this, you can say, by the end of week 4, I expect to have, say, I don't know, £900 left over. Or it may even show you that by the end of week 4, you might be in the red potentially. But my key point here is simple. Creating a bit of a cash flow plan gives you a sense of being in control of what's going on in your life. And this is something that anyone can do. You don't need to be an accountant or know how to work numbers or anything like that. This is me just simply saying, use a pen or pencil and paper and simply anticipate what's going to happen this week, week 1, next week, week 2, the week after, week 3, the week after that, week 4. Have a sense for what's going out and coming in, but starting with the current bank balance you've got. And that should help you have a picture over what will happen over the next 4 weeks. And then when that 4 weeks happens, you can then roll that over up into the next 4 weeks and so on. Okay. Then the 8th point I wanted to make on today's video is to create a plan to make more money. Now, we obviously know, and I shared this, talked about this, a lot on this channel. It's not about how much you make, it's about how much you can keep. But how much you do make actually does matter, because for a lot of people, it's not, they've really managed their lifestyle to the point where, they can't cut down the expenses anymore, and they now need to earn some more money to help them to move forward. So one thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to creating a plan to make more money is that one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people don't actually take the steps to make more money or earn more is because they are distracted multiple upon multiple upon multiple times every single day. May I challenge you to do two things? One is, what's the income goal you have? Like, how much more would you like to make realistically? Don't forget like all this stuff people show on the internet giving you like unrealistic expectations. Keep it really real. How much do you want to make realistically? Is it 10% more of your current net income? Is it 20% more of your current net income? Is it 50% more if you're prepared to do the work? How much is it? Is it 500, £1,000, 2,000? What is it? Once you're clear on what the amount is, one thing I want to challenge you to do is to put your phone away. Put your phone away. Can you create spaces in your life every day where you have your phone untouched for 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, untouched? You find that the more you create time to just think, time to just challenge yourself and say, do you know what? Things are really tight right now, but I could be doing more with my time. I could be using my skills a bit better, or I could be learning more to acquire better skills. The more you spend that time acquiring a bit more knowledge in a particular area, some area of specialism, or applying for a part-time job, or putting in more hours or whatever, the more you do more of that kind of stuff, rather than wasting it on things that aren't adding value to your life, the more you give yourself the biggest chance to be able to increase your income realistically. And realistically speaking, you can do it broadly in 3 areas: by offering a service of some sort using your skill set or ability, or by creating some kind of product or selling a product that somebody else already has, or it's by exploring creating some content or something of that nature. Broadly speaking, those are 3 core areas that you could focus on as a way to potentially increase your income. And one thing I would say to increasing your income is that nothing actually happens overnight. A lot of us expect super unrealistic results. We're like, oh yeah, I want this to happen in the next 1 month. It doesn't typically happen that quickly, being super frank. So if you do have plans to increase your income, it's about being consistent in applying your skill set, being consistent in learning, being consistent in testing things out, rather than just saying stuff. Actually do things, actually experiment with things and see where things might lead you to, okay? And the final bonus point I wanted to make is that you should try not to worry. You see, I was reading, it's interesting actually, I try and find it whilst I'm on the call, whilst I'm doing this video right now, because I have no plans of editing this video. I was reading last night a devotional, a Bible plan, and a message popped up on my phone, that said something, I think that the title of it was something to the effect of, we're called not to worry, but the question is how do you not worry? Like, practically speaking. And it says here, and I'm reading from my phone here, I found a screenshot I took. It says here, studies show that about 97% of the things that we worry about have no grounding in reality that will eventually unfold. Yeah, but without a doubt, we still worry about things. We have a lot of anxiety about things. We're constantly, thinking about things and worrying about them. Yeah, there's a reason why I started this video by asking you to consider gratitude as the very first step, and the second step being prayer. Yeah, the reason I've done that is I want us to think of things from this perspective of a faith walk. 2 worlds coming together. A faith walk. The faith aspect is about that spiritual journey. It's about just knowing that you're not on this journey alone. And money is not just a one-dimensional thing. Yes, it's a tool, but money is also a spiritual thing. It's not just a one-dimensional thing. The faith dimension is about connecting to something bigger than who you are. It's about believing that things can happen, even though you can't see all the steps just yet. Whereas the walk aspect, the walk aspect, is about then doing practical things, taking those steps, understanding where you are financially, creating a bit of a cash flow plan on a notepad or on a computer, taking certain steps to shop with cash, like I've mentioned on today's video, and doing those various other things I've shared today. But I've made this video, just wrapping up, to say that just to remind you to say that where you are right now is not where you will remain for the foreseeable future. I think if you remember that one thing, it will help to motivate you to start taking those practical steps to gradually move from a place where things seem very tight at the moment and seem really restricted to a point where gradually over time, if you're really focused, if you're really disciplined, you can see yourself moving from a point where you're really struggling financially, but gradually digging yourself out of that journey, out of that place, and starting to see this journey of building wealth as something that's possible for you. Guys, I really hope you've enjoyed today's video. It's very relaxed, and I just thought about it whilst I was getting our children ready for school this morning. I thought this might be a really good topic to explore. If you really enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate you commenting below and just sharing your thoughts. Share any questions you have, any things that you would love me to expand on potentially, or if you have any contributions to make to this video, I'd really appreciate your thoughts as well in the comments section. And if you enjoyed today's video, please do share it with other people who you think might find it useful, and if you think this video might add value to their lives. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and as always, in all things, be thankful and seek joy. Take care. Bye for now.